Hello, Riya. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
So can you please introduce yourself to the audience up here?
Yeah, sure. I'm Riya Jha. I'm currently a pre-final year student of IIT ISM Dhanbad. I'm pursuing BTech in majorly in metallurgical engineering, but I have a double major as well in BTech CSE. So yeah, I have coding interest in mainly web development, but gradually because of my courses in a curriculum like through DSA and all, I got to introduced to the world of competitive programming. And via that, I got to know about other coding platforms like Codeforces, CodeShip, and I started solving problems on them. And that got my interest on competitive programming. And soon after my first year, I shifted my interest to majorly competitive programming and DSA part of the section. And yeah, I'm currently in a team of badminton of my college, and I've represented my college in Inter IIT as well.
So first of all, I want to ask that what was the journey before IIT? Like how it was?
The journey before IIT was just study, nothing else. Like I prepared my JEE coaching classes from Kota, and I had prepared for 2 years, like 11th and 12th standard. And yeah, that was quite tiresome, quite competitive. That was yeah, a difficult stage of life, like not unforgettable stage of life.
So like whenever I listen to any IIT, like in their first sem, they got lazy. So what was your experience in your first sem? Like when you reached IIT first?
Yeah, like for us, we were the first COVID batch of IITs, and so we had really very little time to cover up our first year. Like we just got 8 months around to cover up for both the semesters. So all our vacations and holidays were cut off, and that was a really rapid phase. Like we need to cover huge syllabus in very short amount of time. But yeah, as it was online, we got much time to learn new technologies and stuff. So I utilized my first semester and second semester as well to learn coding skills and to develop small projects from my side. So it was interesting for me because I utilized my time efficiently in getting to know about other technology stuff. Because math science was something like we were being doing for the last 2 years. But the technology thing, like the programming thing, that was something new. So yeah, that got my interest. And academics was a bit okayish. Like as it was online, we were just giving proxies in our classes, and we were just attending the quizzes. So it was okay. But the major thing which I liked about online was to learn main new stuffs in coding.
So when did you got interest in coding? Were you into it before 12th or did you got into it after IIT?
About programming, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
for me, in a 12th standard, I had physical education, like as it was for most of the students in Kota.
that was mine
So
too.
yeah, like we weren't given the opportunity, the option to opt for computer science in Kota. So that like so I didn't had much uh, experience using laptops even. Like I was a very studious student, so I was always into books. So for
Oh,
me
more into
initially,
bookish type now.
yeah. So I
When
when like many seniors even told me, like not of our college, but yeah, for like my relatives who had already been to IITs, like they suggested me that if you don't know coding in 12th class or 11th class, so you'll face very difficult situations to cover up with those knowing the basics at least. So, but we had technical clubs in our college. So those clubs, from the very starting month of the college curriculum, like they introduced us to various domains of technology, of like web development, app development, machine learning, cybersecurity. So these were different divisions in our technical clubs, and via those, I got introduced to these things. And there were like many different clubs around technology. Some were focusing mainly on competitive programming, some were focusing on data structures and algorithms, and some were for development part. So I had a overall view of the programming thing in my first semester itself. So I got much help from my seniors via these clubs to learn the basics of programming. Like we had DSA or the basic C++ programming in my second semester. So I had sufficient time in my first semester to get to know at least the basics, like the people who had already opted for computer science IT in the 11th and 12th class. So the basics were like that were the portion was covered by me in the first semester itself. So I didn't face that much difficulty, but yeah, I utilized the things and managed things appropriately in time.
Yeah. So what was the experience when you started learning DSF first?
Okay, so first I'll talk about the programming language. Like for us, our seniors suggested to use C++. So before learning DSA, the language itself was a bit challenging for me to learn. So I just referred my seniors class. They provided classes through their clubs. So we attended them online. Like they were conducting online classes. So we attended them, and via that I got to know about the basics. But then when the DSA curriculum was introduced, like it was at another level. Like I was really facing much difficulty in learning DSA. But again, I kept on solving problems on online platforms. Like there was no other option to learn to brush up on my DSA skills, like other than practicing problems. Like theory is okay, like professors they used to teach, but I preferred online courses. Like we have Take You Forward, and we have Apni Kaksha at that time to learn
Yeah.
the basics, and we have Abdul Bari courses. So those courses helped me to learn about the theoretical part, and then for the implementation, till now I'm practicing on online platforms.
Uh, Even your DSS skills are too good now. So what do you do these days to brush them up?
Okay. So to brush up my DSS skills, I basically practice on a lead code platform. I found that platform particularly very good to practice upon. Like my friends even prefer Geeks for Geeks as well. So they have people have different choices, but I found lead code most efficient for me. So practicing questions day in and day out is the only thing to keep brushing upon our DSS skills apart from giving contests.
So what was the journey for JP Morgan? Like, did you plan for an internship at that time, or it just happened? Like they reached to you, like what happened at that time?
Okay, so I had applied for JP Morgan, the current position which I am currently being allotted. This program is basically an immersion program, which is focused mainly on second year undergraduates, and that too on a underrepresented group of technology, like mainly girls or bisexuals or transgenders. But even boys are considered for the same role. So this program, I got to know about this program via a post of the recruiter from JP Morgan and Chase itself. So I just randomly went to that post and applied via the career portal. I saw the eligibility criteria. I was fulfilling almost every criteria, and I just randomly applied to that position. And the criteria for that was they'll be giving a coding test link, and the application will only be considered when we complete that test. So I completed the coding test, and as it was focused on second year undergraduates, so the questions were also on an easy medium level. And after that, around 2 months after my completion of the test, they gave a response. Like I had almost forgotten about the opportunity which I had applied for. And after 2 months, I got a mail regarding my technical interview and behavioral interview. And that mail was around 1 week ahead of my scheduled interview date. And then I prepared accordingly, and I was quite nervous because this was a good company, and I had already been rejected 2 to 3 times by the same company itself, because I had applied many times to JP Morgan and Chase. But yeah, this time I was really nervous because reaching this far was not like this was first time reaching this part or an interview of JP Morgan. So, and I thought I'd already given higher view interviews of JP Morgan and Chase. So I thought this would be also a sort of that video recording higher view platform. But this was a proper technical interview of software engineering hiring. So I thought, like I was very tensed because I didn't know that what they will ask to us, like what they will ask, whether they'll ask coding questions, or whether they'll ask conceptual questions, or whether they'll ask HR questions. And also there weren't many people who had already applied to this position, and so I wasn't aware of the technicality of this interview. So I just randomly prepared for DSA and my basics of OOPS and software development, web development. All together, I just prepared for my CS fundamental topics along with DSA. And the interview also had the same things, like they covered almost each and every DSA, almost each and every CS fundamental concepts and DSA as well. And
What was the
yeah,
kind of questions asked in that round? Can you please give a little
okay.
bit of reference?
Yeah, so technical round actually was for a 45-minute period, and the interviewer initially had instructed me like she'll be asking questions, but I need to answer almost everything, whatever I was knowing about the topic by giving examples. So the questions were more or less of conceptual type, like she needed an explanation for each and every question along with appropriate examples. So the questions were from almost all CS fundamental topics like database and management and operating systems, networks, cybersecurity as well. Then from software development part, then from web development, then DSA, OOPS. So these were the major topics. And also she had one or two questions around JP Morgan and Chase, like what is the company about? What are similar companies or as of JP Morgan? And what technical stacks JP Morgan and Chase uses. So she basically wanted to know, like, did the candidate know about the company he or she's applying to? And also, she asked questions from my resume, from my projects, which I had mentioned in my resume.
So let me ask you a question. Single one you have to choose: development or CP. Tough one.
Development.
What about the CP?
Like I had started my journey for programming via development itself, and I must say, like, development is very addictive, like very addictive.
Yeah.
Like you cannot just keep your work at a hold and do like you cannot do like I'll do a question on DSA and I'll just I'll keep aside this development thing. Like you have the potential, like you cannot leave the development work in between. Like you will be with it the whole night, implementing a feature, searching about that feature online and getting your doubts clear on online sources, and that is quite addictive. So I had to take a break from development. Like I need to completely stop doing development in order to learn DSA part. So I am very much addicted towards development, but just to improve my DSA and CP for hiring programs and for basically for hiring programs, I had to just keep aside my development, but I was really, really very addicted towards development. Yeah.
Okay. Tips for newcomers. There are
Newcomers,
two tips.
first,
First in DSA, second in CP. Like DSA means, I mean, only problem solving for DSA questions, and for CP, like who want to be good in CodeChef or Codeforces.
okay, so my
So
advice would be like for I would recommend, like my seniors recommended me, like to first start with implementation questions via HackerRank, and we should first focus upon CP because once you learn DSA, you get your thinking in a particular direction. Like like you have to think in a confined direction. But if you start by implementing your basic implementation logics, so you will know how to think for a particular problem rather than using any specific data structure or rather than using a confined direction to solve a problem. So I too started via HackerRank by solving implementation basic questions. By that, I got to know like you should know whatever you are thinking mathematically, you have to represent that in the language that is understandable by computer. So you need to write down your thoughts via code. So that is the major concept that you should learn initially. Like whatever you are thinking, the logic you are thinking, you should be able to convert into a language. So that is the major thing. So after once you are confident with the basic implementation of your logic, and then I would recommend to go on by learning STL, standard template. So that would be better, STL. And after that, I would recommend to go on solving for contests, like solving problems on live contests. So that would help you to tackle new problems and and like while you are practicing, not within a contest, like while you are practicing on your own, so you'll be getting solutions here and there. It's available on the internet. So you are confident that if you will not know the solution, you will refer some online resources and you'll get the answer. But if you give yourself time in a contest, so at that time you don't have a single opportunity to look for the answers, and your brain will have no option left with it rather than thinking for the question. So coding contest is essential in the initial period, in fact every time. And once you are able to solve A and B, I would recommend to start learning advanced concepts, like start learning two pointers, then sliding window concept, then binary search. Like these algorithms you should learn after learning the implementation and STL things. So, and after that, I would recommend to start learning DSA. Like after this part, you can learn data structures of advanced level like trees, graphs, recursion. So that will help you to think more widely. Like these three concepts, recursion, trees, and graphs, are all recursion only. So you'll get to know how recursion works, how to think differently rather than just thinking straightforward for a basic implementation question. You'll get to know how to think in a different way. So after that, yeah, at this time you can learn DSA. At this time you can focus on lead code and CF, like code process simultaneously. But initially, don't start with DSA. Start with competitive programming. Start with implementation questions, STL applications, and after that you can learn for data structures and algorithms.
I have started coding on Codeship. There is a learning module up there where you can go and learn topics. So it gives me some kind of tips and tricks up there, and I solve. So what should
Okay.
people like me do now? Like we are solving normal questions in Hacker Rank or somewhere. We have learned DSA, but we have kind of mota moti knowledge, but still we are unable to implement that logic. Then what kind of tip you want to give to them?
Yeah, the same problem happened with me. Like I was able to think about the logic of the question, but when it came to code that logic, I faced difficulty. So I suggested the same thing, like you should be able to convert your thinking, mathematical thinking, into the language. That is the major part of coding. And once you are confident with this thing, then you can code anything which comes to your mind. So for that, I preferred platform @coder. Like that platform is always like it's more focused upon mathematical questions. So whatever mathematical questions they are asking, like you know the solution for that mathematical question, but you need to represent it in language, in any language. So I preferred that platform to solve this problem of mine, to convert my logic into a language. So solving on @coder, I found it very helpful. And second, I can say you need to be very clear about the basics. Like I had a problem of I initially had a problem of declaration, initialization, the functions available for a particular STL. So these were my problems. So these basic problems only, these take time, and these consume time while solving a question. Like you do not know how to declare or how to initialize properly or how to call a function by taking basic input parameters. So these things cause trouble to convert your thinking process into a language. So you should be very clear with the basics. You should not leave single topic, like I'll particularly use only arrays for my questions. You should be confident with vectors as well. You should be confident with arrays as well, how to call them, how to pass those parameters, how to call those functions. So you should be clear with the basics. And again, only solving the problems continuously, the implementation based questions on HackerRank or on lead code, basic implementation question, which will force you to think and convert your thinking process into a language. So that is the major point to improve this difficulty.